Want to unmute and just say hi to everyone and remind everyone where you're from, which part of the world and things like that.
Which concrete did you order in there?
Hello, I'm Alison from Bathurst. Good to see you. Yeah, so the Western Rivers Environmental Education Network we have kind of up and running.
Thanks, Alison.
I'm Kate. I'm a teacher at Barongal Environmental Ed Centre up northwest Sydney.
And you're part of two networks, aren't you, Kate?
Yes. I'm also doing marine education stuff. So I'm the leader of the marine special interest group. And
part of the Northern Sydney Environmental Educators Network.
All of those. Yes.
And in case other people aren't aware, so there are national special interest groups or just, networks that have been set up with support from A2E2, the national A2E2, and Kate does the marine, she looks after the marine educators, special interest groups or networks. So, and there's a local government network, and a couple of other networks. I'm not sure how active they are, but Kate is active with hers. And
they are pretty active. There's a teacher educator one, and there's a nature educators one, local government. There's a few.
And do you know, are they like as active as you guys?
Yeah, I think the nature educator one is quite active. And I think they all are. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Do they all, so you have a Facebook page for your group, and you also have online meetings, don't you?
We don't have regular online meetings, but yes, we do. Whenever there's things coming up, there's C Week coming up, we'll have online meetings leading up to that to prepare and organise. And our Facebook group, I think they've all got Facebook groups.
Great. So thank you, Kate. Who would like to introduce themselves next?
Hi.
Leon or Lynn?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Yes, so I'm from the Northern Rivers Group of Environmental Educators. I actually work for Landcare. We're reasonably active group. Not everybody attends the meetings face-to-face. A lot of us are email coordinators as well. We've been meeting a bit more regularly at the moment to do with our A2E2 project coming up. So, can't hear you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Lynn. Leon, would you like to introduce yourself and describe the brunette beauty that you are? So you just have to unmute yourself, Leon. She has maybe Leon has walked away for a minute. So how about we go over to Lisa? We're just getting people just to introduce themselves and where you're from.
Hi everybody, sorry I'm late. I'm Lisa. I live up in Bellingen near Coffs Harbour, and I'm convening the Mid-North Coast Sustainability Educators Network right now. You have to say something else?
No, that's great. Leon, I'm going to unmute you, so we should be able to hear you now. Leon, can you try and say something? Because Leon's just sent me a little chat text saying that she's trying to work out the technology. That's all right. Yes, we can't hear you, Leon. But that's okay, Leon. You've already put a little chat message in. And if you guys are looking at the chat, that little icon with the speech bubble at the bottom, if you click on that, the chat will come up along the side and you can see Leon's introduced herself from Willoughby Council. And she used to be the coordinator of Naseen for a number of years, the Northern Sydney Network.
Chat to everyone because her thing hasn't come up, Erica.
Oh, see, sorry, yep, she sent it to me privately. So when you guys do use the chat message, function, you can choose who to send it to, and you just have to click on everyone. So yeah, so Leon's from the Northern Sydney Network at Willoughby Council. She's a sustainability educator there. So look, thank you
Come on,
for your time today. I just thought be good to have an update, to give you guys an update, and for you guys to be able to connect in with others about how everything's been going. So I'll be really quick with my update because it's a lot more interesting for you guys to hear about what you guys are doing rather than just getting more from me, because I already send you a lot of emails. In terms of your Leadership for Sustainability program, I'd just like to remind you of your journals. It would be fantastic if you could, if you haven't started using them, that's completely all right. It'd just be great for you to write something in them because next March and April, Graham's going to start gathering all the evaluation, and your journals form a really important part of that. And I suppose the reason why I asked that is because even though you'll all be doing surveys at the end, you know, say in April, you'll all be doing surveys, but, you know, in those surveys you might not really remember things that, you know, you might have learnt, say something you did with your project this month, or you know, you learnt something new, or you had some reflection, or whatever. You know, in however many months' time, that you might not remember that. The journals are just really important for you to just, you know, reflect on any lessons or any challenges, and that's going to be really important for us with the trust, to be able to show the environmental trust that the $100,000 they have invested in this project was worthwhile. And we really want that to happen. We want to get a really good report in. And I know that you guys are all, you know, I know that you guys are all learning a lot from your journey in this process, and it doesn't have to be good stuff. It can be bad stuff, just whatever. Yeah, don't worry if you haven't used it yet. Something would be better than nothing.
I'm creating one now.
Very good. Now, do you have your journal? So, and if you can't find the electronic version, I can re-email it to you.
I was just going to make one, but if there's a template that we can use, that'd be great.
Yeah, I sent it out a long time ago, so
Yeah,
people have probably forgotten about it. I will re-email it to everyone as a nice little prompt.
Yeah.
You know, even feel free to use it to just track how your project's going, you know, with project management meetings and things like that. You can take your notes in there, just sort of use it as a tool for yourself. But I will re-email the journal, although you all had your own specific, I've created a journal for each one of you because you had your specific objective for participating in this. When you started the project, you had to put into the survey why you were, you know, participating. And so in the email with the journal, it actually has your statement, which, you know, says I'm doing, you know, I'm becoming a leader for sustainability because I want to do this. So it's not easy for me to resend out 44 of those individual emails.
Yeah.
So Kate, you're saying you don't have the journal. I can find yours. Does everyone else still have their journal file?
I think
I'm just looking through my emails.
Okay. If you can't find it, just let me know. Because, yeah, so that at the end you can see how you're going with your initial aim. So that's...
So can I ask?
Yes?
So to always be the rabble-rouser, of course, Erica. You know, how we like to address different learning styles in our teaching and educating. So is there, I talked to Graham about this as well, actually, when he asked for the first journal entry. And I'm just thinking about, you know, just as a group, thinking about other alternatives to journal keeping that could same kind of goals for the OEH. You know, just creatively, like I could just sit here and think to myself, I'm never going to bloody write a word in a journal, sorry, or I could just say, you know what, let's all talk about this. You know, like there's different, I'm just not a journal writer. And so
what about a photo journal?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, can we do?
It can be anything. You can do a doodle. You can do a drawing in it. You can put a photo in. I don't know. You can put your hands in paint and.
But I mean, it has to be meaningful, though. You know, it needs to be meaningful. So.
Yes, of course it is. Yeah, I mean, journals do have that limitation. It's trying to capture your reflection, and surveys don't do that, and it's really an opportunity for you just to like put down your thoughts over a period of time. You know, in an ideal world, someone would fill their journal out every few months, and it would track the journey that you've been on through the program. But probably more than likely, we're just hoping to get, you know, an extract, you know, from each person that is sort of a bit of a light bulb moment, or you know, or some change that you made. Oh, I'm now doing this because, you know, I'm using Zoom for other things because, you know, we've been using it in this way. It's just a different way of just trying to capture that information when it comes up to you. But yeah, you can draw, you can put photos in. It can be really, really simple, and you know, evaluation is limited, but it's just something we have to try and do so that the trust are happy. So yeah, so that would be great. And just other couple of things. We had the 33rd New South Wales Environmental Education Conference a couple of weeks ago, and A2 E2 worked really hard to promote all of the networks at the conference. For those who weren't there, we talked about the networks. We had sign-up sheets to encourage people to, to sign up to join their network. And we also had place-based catch-ups that a few of you participated or helped to lead, where we basically we encouraged people for half an hour to go into different rooms based on the regions. And and just really, that was a big aim for us to try and get people aware of the networks, and a lot of people weren't aware of the networks. We got a lot of people signing up from the Sydney region because there were a lot of Sydney educators, a lot less from the other regions. But hey, for those who went to the conference, I'm interested, and I'm sure others who couldn't make it would be interested to hear your thoughts, or what, if you got anything out of the conference. Kate and Lisa and Alison, this will be over to you. Who wants to jump in?
I thought it was really good. I thought there was too much on that you had to miss. And that's all, I suppose that's always a challenge. And particularly other logistical challenges, but in terms of the content that I went to, I thought it was really good.
I agree. I think with Kate's comments that there was so much in the program, it was a really tough decision to work out which presentation to go to. But all the presentations that I went to were really relevant to my work, and I was really happy that there was a lot to learn, and there was some really interesting people to talk to. So I had a good time.
I didn't go, but Lisa Tover went from our network, and she gave a really good feedback on it. So it was, she said it was excellent. Gave us a rundown.
Lisa?
Yeah, it was just great to catch up with people and, challenge with some new ideas. Yeah, I think it probably could have gone over a few more ideas. I mean, I know the logistics are hard, but it just felt like there was a lot to explore. So that would have been good for, longer time.
But thanks, thanks guys for making the effort to come. I know, you know, for some people it's quite a long distance, and it, but it was really great to have that regional presence there, because yeah, they're off. You know, the conferences in Sydney are very heavily made up of Sydney-siders, and just the other thing, which is really good to know, there were heaps of new people to the conference. So I think maybe was it something like, it's like 30% or 2/3. Like not very, I can't quite remember, but Graham reported at the end that yeah, there was a massive amount of new people. So that's really promising to know that for you, you know, for all of your networks, there still are so many people out there that aren't in the loop, so to speak, and that provides a great opportunity. And you know, positions are always changing and things like that. So, so that was really good. And I gave a couple of presentations on projects, on things related to this project. So Jem and Melissa and I gave a workshop on running effective environmental education networks, on the things that we've learnt through this process. So that's good to know that we can share what we're learning. And also I gave a presentation on the best practice project planning guide that you guys are all familiar with. So and that had a very full room. There were over 30 people there, and there was some good feedback from that. So you guys being the guinea pigs on using this best practice guide is really appreciated, because it's obviously something that there's a lot of interest in. And finally, I'll finish up with my update. I'm just going to share my screen and just show you, just want to highlight the new A2E2 website. Can you all see the website now?
Yeah.
Yep, great. Okay, so as you can see, there's the conference photo, this is now a resource for all of your networks. So you can either click on connect with your networks here, or go to networks. There's a page there for all of your networks, and we've got this great map. And I'll just show one example of the information going onto the network pages, which I'm putting on at this point, with the aim next year to have one person from each of your networks who's, you know, good with websites, likes doing that kind of stuff, to sort of take on the role of updating the page. It's very simple. We've done it in a way that's very simple. So here's the Northern Rivers group. There's Lynn, looking lovely. Thank you, Lynn, for sending that photo through. So you can all have your own photo up there. We've got the contact convener name, and we've put on the information there about the best practice projects that each network are working on, and then some information there about the network, the strategic plan. People can have a look at that, and ideally it would be lovely to be able to, I think, on these pages, you know, have stuff like the next meeting. So when you know your meeting dates, that can go on there, particularly so that when people new are coming into this, they get the sense that it's actually active. It's because quite often when you are looking up stuff on the net, you look at things and you wonder, you know, is this 3 years old? So these pages are for you guys, for the networks that don't have a web presence, to have a web presence, and to use them to really promote to your members what you're all about, and also for people that work in big bureaucracies and need to get approval to attend network meetings. We're hoping that this will be a useful tool for people to be able to, you know, show to their managers that you know, they need to be allowed to go to these meetings, and this is what the network's all about, and things like that. So yeah, so I'd encourage you to just sort of get familiar with those and have a think about how you'd like to you know, use it, and yeah, just become familiar with the website, because we've got a lot of new things on here, a lot of new professional development resources, and hopefully it'll be a useful tool. So so that's my update. So thank you very much for listening to all of that.
Oh, it's really good, Erica. The website looks great.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you. I had a lot to do with it, so I'm going to say thank you.
Yeah, good. It looks really nice.
Okay, good. That's good.
Good question, Erica. I'm a member of...
Doug, you need to introduce yourself because you came in late.
Sorry about that. I've got a school group camping here, so
That's all right.
So, Doug Record from far south coast, and we're working on incorporating a network with our regional science hub so that we don't have to go to 2 sets of meetings. But it's taking time to get things happening. But look, I'm a member of the National Parks Association, and one thing that happens with that organisation is our branch, whenever someone becomes a member, we get emailed, and we get a regular members list update. And I don't know how long I've been a member of A Squared, E Squared, and I've been the contact person down here for a long time, but I really don't know. Some of the people that turn up at their activities, I don't really question them about their A Squared, E Squared membership, and I don't really have any idea who the members are down in this part of the world. So I'm just wondering, is it possible to get a spreadsheet with, members that are in our geographic area? Because we could use that to, they might already be on our mailing list, but we could just add those people to our existing list. Is that possible?
Yeah, look, that's a good suggestion because we were talking at the conference about just automatically signing conference attendees up to your, to the different email lists. Sure. If that information is there. But yeah, I'll email the executive about that because it needs to sort of, ideally it would just sort of be an automatic thing that that if you join A Squared, E Squared, New South Wales, you sort of you get put onto your regional network list. And also, I don't know whether I have toyed with the idea of the networks, of those network pages having sort of maybe the names of members. I don't know, some people that might not be good for people's privacy, or some of the organisations that are represented, just so that new people sort of get a sense of the breadth of membership.
You could ask people when they join up, are you happy to have your name included on that?
A Squared used to have all of the members like a little bio on the website, didn't they?
The executive. So
no, I think it was everyone.
Of like every single member.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm pretty sure they did when I first anymore. Sorry.
I was just saying, I wonder why they don't do that anymore.
Yeah. It was an opt-in thing.
Yeah.
But I remember because you could go through and look at the sort of bio and photo of all of the members and what they did.
The International Association for Public Participation, of which I'm a member, they do the same. So it's an opt-in thing as well. So all the names of the members are listed, and then you go in and update your profile with as much or as little information as you want. But it's only available if you log in as a member. So you have to be a member and log in via a portal. So then you can go, right, I'm looking for people to connect with around subject A, for example.
Yeah, that's true too. That was when the A Squared, you had to log in. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, that's great. That's really.
You see, Erica, Leon wrote, there used to be a spreadsheet with everyone. I think it was removed because we got too many calls from consultants calling us. So.
Oh, okay.
But maybe if it is a logged-in thing only, then and people can. I'm sure the technology is better now, so that it would be a really good service to have. But then people can.
Yes, Leon, LinkedIn, we have talked about we did talk about having a LinkedIn page for this program, Leadership for Sustainability. It was just one of those things that didn't quite get done. But yeah, they are really good ideas because you do, it should be easier. I do like the opt-in one for people to be able to do that. Even if it's just opting in to have your name on the network that you're in. yeah, there's some great ideas. So I'm capturing all of that. Thank you. Lynn, you were going to say something, you had something to offer before we got onto this conversation.
I can't remember.
Oh, that's all right. When you remember, just jump in. That's good. That's great. So
I know what it was.
Yep.
But as far as accessing to put our information onto your website, will you give us a run through on that? Because we're happy to do that.
Yes, yeah. I thought I might. Yes, I'll definitely do that if when everyone sort of is at the same stage, when all the networks have sort of have got their projects happening and are feeling like they're then ready to look at other things, I can just do a group rundown. But it is very simple. We've set it up so that all you can do is access your network page, and it's very easy to edit. So yeah, so it'll just be a matter of just setting that up. But so yeah, if you want to do that soon, I can just do that individually. Just let me know.
Okay.
So, this online chat is an opportunity for you guys to catch up and talk about how things are going, what challenges you're having. So, you don't all have to give updates on what your network is doing or how your projects are going. It's really just up to you to use this time, in a way that suits you, and you don't all have to contribute. Yeah. And if you want to just put your hand up and then talk, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about.
Oh, okay, I'll talk. To do with our project. Can you hear me? I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. It's a schools project we're working on, 4 schools, 4 days, a school each day. Just in relation to one problem we had was that it was very difficult for us to put a project together with only $1,500. So we have partnered with another organisation as well to make it a more worthwhile project for us up here. So that was just one thing that we did. Southern Cross Unis, who we partnered with, they are members of our organisation. They're a member, so it was a good fit and it worked well. So that was just one information.
Yeah, that's great, Lynn. That was sort of, I suppose, the reason why there wasn't that much funding to really encourage that collaboration, to look elsewhere, and that is the value of collaboration. The money, whether it's cash or in kind, that you can tap into when you collaborate. So that's a great reflection to have made. And what about others? How are others going? Or come on, I know you're on chatterboxes.
Well, I'll talk quickly about our project. With regards to the Western Rivers group, it was sort of pretty informal leading into the start of the leadership program, where there was a lot of people on an email list, and emails are sort of circulated, but not a lot of get together and things like that in recent times. And so we've had a few of our members who participated in this program go on extended leave this year. So the remaining kind of 3 of us who are kind of keeping things ticking along, we kind of had to decide, are we going to do something with regards to kind of reinvigorating the group, or are we going to run a project? And so we've kind of gone with the project angle. We've got a film festival coming up on the 5th of November, which is around a water conservation theme, which is really good. We've linked into an event that was run last year through a local ecology centre, and Sally Neves, who is the educator there, she's a part of the leadership program, which is great. And Nick Hall from Red Hill Environmental Education Centre and myself, we are collaborating on running this event. And so far we've got 30 films to screen as part of the festival, and we're hoping for 100 people to come along on a Sunday afternoon. And we've got some food lined up, some sort of locally grown food, and we've got some entertainment and things like that. And we're kind of trying to sort of showcase some water and waste kind of themes alongside the actual film festival itself. So fingers crossed that'll be a success, and then that will kind of be you know, we're sort of hoping that that will be, you know, kind of a bit of a leap forward in terms of really a collaborative project we've come together really based upon our participation in this leadership program. So, which is great and something quite different for me. So, yeah, it's been good.
And Alison, do you want to just quickly share with others the like the behaviour change aspect of that, because it's a film festival, a day event, but then there's that aspect with water saving and with workshop participants?
Yeah, so the films are based around sort of a water conservation theme. We're on the Macquarie River here in Bathurst, and so some of the films are linked back to that, and some are linked to sort of, you know, water that comes out of the tap and using water at home and a whole range of different themes. But what we've tried to do is incorporate 2 workshops. One workshop will go ahead, which is around the development of a water saving, or sort of a water conscious vegetable garden at home. We've got an educator who's going to run a bit of a workshop. We're giving away some seedlings that are appropriate to grow in this area, with a view to kind of hoping that people will take what they've learnt home and potentially sort of look at maybe growing something in their backyard, which kind of links back to our organics waste education stuff that I'm sort of focused on here at council as well, which is really good. And we're also doing a workshop around building a rain garden at home. So how you might do a planter box rain garden and implement those sets of principles for to create a water sensitive garden. And I've spoken to one of our Parks and Gardens environmental educators here at council, and she's given me a list of plants that are appropriate in our area, and we're going to give some of those away to people, of course, that fill in our survey at the end to give us some feedback. That's the catch. And, you know, we're hoping that people might take some of that information away and go, oh, okay, I'm a bit inspired and I've got a bit of knowledge now to do something at home, even if that is on a small scale. And
you're then going to do survey those participants at a later stage?
Well, what we've decided to do is at the end of the event, in order for people to take sort of a plant or a seedling home, we're going to ask them to jot down a pledge and just and answer just a couple of questions about their views on the day and capture their email address out of that, with a view to sending them an email in a month or 2 months. We'll probably before Christmas, I'd imagine, because I think after Christmas we might lose them. But sending them an email as a follow-up to say, did you go home and do anything differently as a result of something you might have seen or something that might have inspired you? You know, even if that's turning the tap off when you brush your teeth, you know, that saves water. So hopefully we'll be able to get some positive feedback and certainly at least get some sort of sense of whether there's been any lasting behavioural change as a result of our event.
That's great. Thanks, Alison. Yeah, well, I'm sure it'll be a great day.
Hope so.
Yeah, good luck with it all.
Thank you.
Who wants to... Kate, do you want to give us an update? Do you feel ready to give an update on how your project's going, or would you prefer not to?
Yeah, that's fine.
Everyone's itching to know.
Our project, they look itching to know.
I'm itching to know.
Our project is a microplastic citizen science survey. So working with a few different organisations, the Environmental and Zoo Education Network, Centres Network, because we're hoping to roll it out across the state long term, but at the moment we're just sort of piloting it here at Burwongal, but also through the NSW, the Northern Sydney Environmental Educator Network, and I think most of them are council people, so I think they will be more interested in doing some training and running microplastic surveys with local green groups, the bush care groups, and all those sorts of volunteer networks. I think, so I've kind of been focused on training or developing program that we can run across the EZEC network. So it'll be a high school, probably geography students, curriculum-based project. And then, but the day that we're doing through the Nassim group will probably be a day of sort of just a professional development day of teaching all of the sustainability educator people from councils, and who are, you know, if there's any local teachers that are interested, that we can teach them how to facilitate these surveys, microplastic surveys, on beaches, coasts, rivers, wherever they are. And we've sort of linked up with Take 3 and the Total Environment Centre and Macquarie Uni, and there's a few big players that the Total Environment Centre are really keen on the idea and have a big project in mind. And Take 3 have already got, they're in their very, very early stages as well of doing a bit of a pilot, doing the same sort of thing on the Central Coast. So we've been working with them as well. So it kind of all just took off, and we're sort of all doing the same thing. So the plan was to work together. Yes.
That's great. Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, and Leon already knew. Sorry, Leon. You already knew. And yes, Kate is going to make it amazing. She's already made it amazing. A good example of how, with all of these projects, you only need one person to get fired up.
I'm not the only person fired up.
Oh, no. But come on, you know what I'm saying. All it takes is that one person just to really, you know, have that idea and to run with it. And, yeah, so that's great. Well, that's really exciting. I'll be really excited to get your project plan. So we can
email Lena about that today. You'll be happy to know.
Oh, good. So we can get it, work through that and get it approved, and then you won't have to get any more hassly emails from me. That's fantastic. Okay, well, Lisa or Doug, are either of you feeling chatty?
Yeah, so our project is also about marine debris, so I'm excited to hear about yours, Kate. And we decided to do it's called the Youth Against Marine Debris Challenge. So we had a pretty successful training day. When was that? Ages ago.
March.
Was it?
March.
Was it actually in March?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Geez, wow, time flies. So that was there were about 18 people. So we have a really huge area. So we put it in the middle of our geographic area, but then it ended up that more of the southern people came. So then some of the northern people felt like they'd missed out. So then they wanted to have it in the north. So we repeated. So even though we thought we would have this big area and just one event in the middle, it ended up to be 2 events, which was okay, you know, because they didn't really, a lot of people, some of the people volunteered their services, and we ended up, and all the teachers just traveled on their own. Everybody just traveled on their own, because we thought we'd want to give people petrol and stuff, but they just traveled on their own accord, and everybody gave money for food, so it ended up to be a shoestring budget event, and turned into 2 events. And there were training days, and we talked about the marine debris challenge that the schools and communities could sign up for, and gave them background on that. And then we also did some nature connection, mindfulness in nature workshops, thingies. And then since then, I think we have 4 schools or 5 schools that have signed up to do it. I think 2 of them have already done it, or maybe more have done it, but we haven't got the sort of, you know, photos and we asked them to do photo and iMovie of their challenge. And what we've asked them to do is find a litter hotspot, pick it up, go back, blah, 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 the whole thing. So it's been interesting, and I think we've learned a lot of lessons on the way. So like Alison was saying, we started off with a bigger group and ended up with a smaller group of people kind of doing things for various reasons. And so I think the ongoing challenge for our network is how do we get people to, like, people are always interested to kind of, you know, show up at training days and share and connect, but how do you get people to facilitate all the meetings and kind of organize the projects and do the networking? And I mean, that's the ongoing challenge, isn't it? So It's been interesting. Erica, you might have something to add.
Yeah,
Kind of rambling and incoherent because I haven't heard what this is.
That's great, Lisa. So Lisa's the convener of the Mid North Coast Network, and that's the I'm a member of that as well. So when because of that. Because of what we've learned with our events, that, you know, we have this long stretch of coastline from Coffs Harbour down to sort of Gloucester or Foster. The event in the southern area attracted all the southern people and no one from the northern, and then having an event in the northern region attracted the people from there. So we're going to have 2 Christmas parties, like, you know, Christmas drinks, Green Ed drinks. You might be aware that A2E New South Wales is running Green Ed drinks in Sydney. And so we'll have I'm going to run a Green Ed drinks event here because I do green drinks for Coffs Harbour. I just do that in Sawtell, and then I think the Port Macquarie members are going to try and link in with, there's a sustainability network in Port Macquarie. So yeah, I suppose it's that thing of, you know, just making events and doing things that suit people, and it's okay to have you know, one big network with, you know, different face-to-face events and things like that. So
it's interesting because we started out as 2 separate networks, and then at the training last year we joined into one big network thinking it made more sense, but then actually on the ground people divided themselves into 2 networks, but then there's not enough people to run 2 networks. So, you know, it's like I don't know, weird.
And I think things will evolve, and I think that's good for everyone to be mindful of with their networks, that you know, what works for your network one year might be different the next year, and that's okay. You know, I hope that people are starting to get that sense that being a convener doesn't mean a lifelong commitment. You know, Lisa's great example from her other volunteer networks of seasonal conveners, you know, just convening for 3 months of the year is great, and people are, and the networks are implementing, you know, different models for themselves, and it's good to change those models, and you just have to change things based on your needs, and hopefully that will mean people feel more willing and excited about, you know, stepping up to get involved with a network if they know it's not going to be a massive onerous task. So and I think it's just good that everyone's doing it differently, and Doug might like to chip in here, because speaking of differently, it's been really great that Doug's come forward, because Doug is the convener of the Sapphire Coast Regional Science Hub, which got set up a few years ago because of all this funding from the federal government to promote science, and there's all these synergies between his network members. That might even be something that for the other networks, they might tap into Science Hub funding into the future and actually be able to get some funding and things. Doug, do you want to tell people a bit about that? Because we've still got 10 minutes, but I just think that whole Science Hub is very, very interesting, because all the networks do struggle with, you know, not having funding to run events and things like that, and you've got all your hub in the pub sessions. So I think now would be a great time to hear from your experience.
Sure. So if anyone listening, do you have a regional science hub?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, Lynn does. All right. So
we just applied to become one, Doug. So that's exciting. I hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, we've had the good fortune to work closely with Jackie Randalls, who's based at University of Sydney, and she's part of Inspiring Australia New South Wales. Inspiring Australia is Commonwealth funded, and they've been funding Science Week activities, but also science engagement activities with community. And there's significant funds there. I mean, our Science Hub over the past 4 years has probably got something like $30,000 to $40,000 in funding for either Science Week or science engagement activities, which is great, and very, very low-key, well, how would you say, bureaucratic structures to support that. You apply for the funds, you get the funds, you write a report, and we found it pretty easy to get that. And, they have a range of evaluation tools that they make available, but they don't mandate that you do it in any particular way. And that's been really positive for us. So when A2E put out initially the expression of interest for the Regional Sustainability Educators Network application to Environmental Trust, we kind of thought, well, that's what we're doing. Most of us in the Science Hub have got an environmental education focus. There's Libby Hepburn from the Atlas of Life on the Coastal Wilderness. There's Pambula Community Wetlands, Boonda Environmental Education. We're all doing environmental education. So to me, it was like, I'm not going to create another network. I want to do it all under the one umbrella because I just haven't got time to support two different structures or go to two different meetings. So, we sort of had a bit of a fraught involvement with this process because just at the time when, the Sydney workshops were being organised at the start, I had to go in for surgery and stuff like that. So I never made it to Sydney. And to be quite honest, we've been kind of playing catch up ever since, but that seems to be my life at the moment. So Libby has actually written the draft strategic plan, and it's around citizen science. It's about using an app called Nature Mapper. And we've come up with a project which involves the installation of a bird bath, if you like, with supportive bird-friendly plants, and installing a feature which will allow the deployment of a remote, automatic camera 24/7 in a school, so that kids can observe and take photos. They don't have to be down at the bird bath. They can look at the imagery from the camera and use that in support with other observations to compile a bird list for their school. That's what we're working towards. We've got 2 schools selected. I have to approach those principals, and that's the next stage, which Libby's been waiting for. But it's all pretty exciting. In the 12 months since this program started, one of the things that we didn't foresee was that I was involved with a community group on a bike project, and on the 20th of June, we got a call to say we got $3 million of funding for that bike project. Yeah. To be quite honest, I need either to make a decision to get out of that or get another clone myself, because it's just that, there's lots of stuff on. So Eric has been very patient, very supportive, and we're trying to just work through the strategic planning process and all the best practice material in a way that, makes the project work. And we think we've got a good project, and we'll keep plugging away. But, it's taking longer than we thought to get to this point.
No, Doug, I really wouldn't worry about that at all. Every network is just doing it in their own time, and that's what happens. You can't rush. You can't rush good things, we don't expect you to send through like a final project plan. I think, as the other networks would attest, there's the first version of that plan that comes to me then goes back to them with suggestions, and then comes back and then goes back with suggestions. And that's just, that's part of this process of tweaking and supporting, because it is a big plan. So if you just get to a point where you've done enough and you're not sure about other stuff, just flick it through to me, and then I can start giving you some feedback. And that's what the whole mentoring is about. And I think that project's going to be really exciting. Can I ask Lynn, what is the name of your regional science hub?
Oh, just called the Regional Science Hub. I don't operate Rivers? It would be Northern Rivers, yeah. I think I job share with Hannah, and Hannah's doing that project. And I think Southern Cross Uni are the main coordinators. And it's Science at the Pub. It's always held in one of the pubs in the region.
Okay. And Leon, you said there is one in your region. So maybe is it a Northern Sydney one? Leon, I'll wait for you to chat. Northern Sydney based at Chatswood Library. And Lisa, where are you? Is yours going to who is that Centre for Ecological Learning? Are you applying for that to be a site?
wanted to do that.
Lisa?
No, the Bellinger Learning Alliance is applied, so Centre for Ecological Learning is part of that, but it's the Centre for Ecological Learning, the Bellinger Electricity Alliance, Bellinger Community Arts Council, the Osgreen and Cascade Environmental Ed Center, who I work for, and yeah, like 2 or 3 other groups.
So it's going to be is it going to be like a Bellingen Science Hub?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's one called the Mid-North Coast one, but it's based in Port Macquarie, so we'll be but we will serve Bellingen, Coffs and Nambucca, hopefully. If we haven't gotten approval yet. But that's...
Yeah. It's just very. I think when we write the case studies for all of the projects, I think Doug's case study of the Sapphire Coast Regional Hub will be an interesting one for people because it may be a path that some networks choose to go down, because if there is funding and if people want funding to work on projects, if they want that, they might not, because maybe once you finish this project, you might all just be greatly relieved to.
We don't find it very. Sorry.
It didn't even occur to me to put the Mid-North Coast Sustainable Educators Network on the list for the Regional Science Hub, but if we get accepted, I can totally do that if everybody else in the network thinks that's a good idea.
And Lynn, sorry, you were going to say something?
No, I was just saying we don't find it a very onerous project. It sort of seems to work pretty smoothly, as they have one every couple of months. And as I said, it starts at a different pub in the area. We usually have an expert speaker comes along, a different subject each time. So it's a pretty, while I'm not the main one, my co-worker does it. But it seems pretty popular, and yeah, so citizen science, it works really well.
And then, do you happen to know how many of the science hub members in your region do environmental education? Would you say it's similar to Doug's experience? Or?
Yeah. We're up here. We are all involved in similar projects. That's right. So we try not to have too many different organisations. That's right. Yeah. It's
something interesting that we just all need to keep in mind and sort of explore, because let's face it, to keep alive in this game of environmental education and work as an environmental educator, you have to go where the funding is. So yes, that's great. Thank you. That's really helpful for me. Just to think about and have a chat to A Squared, E Squared about. So,
One more thing, sorry, just before you go, talking about how we use the Zoom and different things. I suppose since we did a training last year, because we've also got 5 networks in our Landcare region here as well. So I was finishing that conference before we did this conference. And we do find now that we're doing so many more, like the online meetings. It's just saving us all so much time. Yeah, it's really good.
Great. Well, if you can attribute any of that to this program, please write it in your journal.
I was just going to throw out one more thing about what you were talking about, Erica, because what we were talking about at the conference when we met in our regional areas, and because I had talked to somebody from the northern regions about their partnership with Southern Cross. And it occurred to me in the regional areas that unis and research is often a place of funding that we have not tapped into. So maybe just, that can be something you put out, Erica, I'm hearing Kate working with Macquarie University, and I don't know what other universities are around, but we're definitely going to approach Southern Cross and Coffs, and that should just be a no-brainer partnership thing with the Sustainability Education Network.
We do also work a lot with Western Sydney Uni now at Rawangul.
Yeah, great.
Land Centre. We've got a handful of projects that we work on together.
That's great.
Maybe I'll just have to have a think about how we can promote that aspect with all of the case studies next year, really just promoting how networks and network members are tapping into resources by collaborating. And really that's what we're trying to encourage with all of these networks. If you collaborate cross-sectorally, there are big wins to be gained, and that could be a really nice way to demonstrate that in terms of, you know, dollar sums are always good. Doug just painted a nice picture of so much money. That's something we all struggle for. Yes, Lynn?
Southern Cross Uni is a member of our Northern Rivers Group of Environment.
Yeah, that's right. It's just for some networks aren't cross-sectoral yet. You know, we're trying to encourage them to be cross-sectoral.
Yeah,
so it's a good tangible. And look, I've mentioned the case study a couple of times, so to finish up, I'll just let you know I'll be developing a little template for a 1 to 2 page case study, and that is the final part of I suppose your work as leaders for sustainability in this project, that once you've finished your project, I will support you guys to develop a case study, 1 to 2 page case study that's going to focus a lot on the lessons learned, the challenges, because that's the most helpful stuff for educators, as well as the information that's on the web pages about the project and, you know, who was involved and stuff like that, outcomes and stuff like that, but not so much all that dry stuff, but actually the useful, juicy bits that will help other educators in their future projects, and that will be we'll print out some of those will, there'll be a certain amount of printed resources, and we're also hoping to, you know, give each of the networks a small amount of funding to have a bit of a celebration network meeting, you know, in sort of early to mid next year, where you guys can all you know, talk about the case study, you know, give everyone case studies, celebrate being involved. So keep that in mind for next year. That will be hopefully a good network event with some food. That can be another good network event for your regions. But it'll be very straightforward. It'll be much easier than the best practice project plan. Does anyone have anything they wanted to add, anything they thought of before we finish up? Okay, thank you everyone very much. And Alison has very great news, because if she stands up, you'll see what that news is about, just because she might not be at the next online chat. When are you going on maternity leave, Alison?
I probably will be around for the next few months, so I'll finish up at Christmas time. So our intention is to try and get that case study wrapped up as soon as possible after our project in November, so that we're kind of able to kind of wrap everything up, as it were, with regards to the project prior to Christmas break, because we're not sure who will be kind of taking the lead in our network from early in the new year. So that will be good. But one thing I have learnt today is that we're actually part of the Central Tableland Science Hub, and Bathurst Regional Council is actually a member of that. So, which is good to know.
Okay. Well, obviously there's a bit of networking that A2E needs to do with Inspiring Australia. And look, thanks for that, Alison. And also just keep in mind, Alison, there are lots of other people in your network, and Andy is coming back, and Kat might be coming back from maternity leave. So remember, that's the whole thing about this. It's everyone participating, and don't feel compelled to feel like you have to get everything done before you go on maternity leave, because you've probably got a million other things to worry about. But yeah, just hand it on to someone else. You've done heaps, so that's great. We'll have another online chat. I don't know if we'll have another